After so many years in the making, today is the day we launch Homewards, a transformative 5-year program that will demonstrate.
And I think it's all about finding your way with the right people, the right supports, close family around you to guide you.
For decades, the palace told a simple story. A princess lost, a nation in mourning, and 2 boys left to carry the silence. But one of them, Prince William, never truly moved on, because behind that funeral march was something darker. Not just grief, but quiet resentment. Now, after 27 years, he's finally broken the silence, and what he's revealed shakes the very foundation of the monarchy. His words weren't just a reflection of pain. They were a warning about the woman who shaped his sorrow and the one who now wears a crown. The truth they never wanted you to know. In those last precious days of August 1997, Princess Diana wasn't just running from paparazzi. She was fleeing something far more sinister, a life that had become unbearable within palace walls. At just 36 years old, the people's princess had finally tasted freedom after her divorce. She'd shortened her skirts, dismissed her security detail, and dared to live on her own terms. But freedom, as the royals knew all too well, came with a price. Behind closed doors at Kensington Palace, Diana had been making plans, not just for a holiday in Paris, but for a complete transformation of her life. She'd even considered return to Althorpe, her childhood sanctuary, a place where titles meant nothing, and she could simply be Diana Spencer again. But something changed in those final weeks. Palace sources, speaking only on condition of anonymity, revealed that Diana had received troubling communications, phone calls that left her shaken, messages that made her question who she could trust. The most chilling detail? A letter she'd written months before her death, predicting exactly how it would happen. "My husband is planning an accident in my car." She'd written to her butler, Paul Burrell. The words seemed paranoid at the time. Now they read like prophecy. What William knows, what he's always known, is that his mother lived her final days in fear, not of photographers or tabloids, but of something much closer to home. And when he finally broke his silence about walking behind her coffin, he wasn't just describing grief. He was pointing a finger at those who'd failed to protect her. What Diana wrote before she died, 10 months before that fateful night in the Pont de l'Homme tunnel. Princess Diana sat at her private desk in Kensington Palace and penned the words that would haunt the monarchy forever. The letter, written in October 1996, wasn't meant for public eyes. It was insurance, a paper trail that would speak for her if she could no longer speak for herself. And what it contained was nothing short of explosive. "This particular phase of my life is the most dangerous," Diana wrote in her distinctive handwriting. She went on to detail specific concerns about her safety, naming those she believed wished her harm. Most shocking of all, she predicted the exact method of her demise: a car accident designed to clear the path for Charles to remarry. When Paul Burrell, her trusted butler, first revealed the letter's existence, Buckingham Palace went into overdrive. Within hours, senior royals were huddled in emergency meetings. The Metropolitan Police launched Operation Paget, a 3-year investigation that would ultimately dismiss Diana's fears as unfounded. But here's what they didn't tell you. The original letter disappeared. What remains are photocopies, fragments, and the testimony of those who claimed to have seen it. Burrell himself was suddenly charged with theft, charges that mysteriously dropped after a convenient recollection by the Queen. The message was clear. Some secrets were too dangerous to surface. For young William, then just 15, the letter's revelation years later would confirm his darkest suspicions. His mother hadn't been paranoid. She'd been perceptive. And the very people who should have protected her had dismissed her fears as the fantasies of a troubled woman. The question that haunts him still: if they'd listened to Diana's warnings, would she still be alive today? The mistress who became queen, long before she wore the crown, Camilla Parker Bowles mastered the art of patience. While Diana dazzled the world with her compassion and beauty, Camilla waited in the shadows, calculating, planning, enduring public hatred for the sake of love that would cost the princess her life. The affair that destroyed Charles and Diana's marriage was never really a secret. By 1986, everyone in royal circles knew. The staff knew. The press knew. Even young William and Harry knew, though they were too young to understand why mummy cried behind closed doors. But Camilla's influence extended far beyond stolen moments and secret phone calls. Palace insiders revealed she had a network. Loyal courtiers who kept her informed, advisors who slowly shifted Charles's priorities, and friends in high places who ensured she was never completely cast out. The most damning evidence? The infamous Tampon Gate recordings, where Charles expressed his desire to be reincarnated as Camilla's tampon. While the public recoiled in disgust, what they missed was a deeper revelation. This wasn't just an affair. It was an obsession that superseded duty, family, and crown itself. Diana's famous words, "There were 3 of us in this marriage," only scratched the surface. In truth, Camilla's presence poisoned every aspect of royal life. She influenced Charles's decisions, undermined Diana's position, and created an atmosphere so toxic that the Princess of Wales felt she had no choice but to flee. When William watches Camilla today, sitting where his mother should have sat, wearing jewels that once graced Diana's neck, he sees more than his stepmother. He sees the architect of his family's destruction. And despite years of public relations campaigns to soften her image, that truth remains unshakable. The boy who walked behind his mother's coffin has become a man who will never... The confession that shook the palace. The interview wasn't supposed to happen. For decades, Prince William had perfected the art of royal composure. Never a word out of place. Never a hint of the rage that simmered beneath his carefully controlled exterior. But in 2024, something snapped. Sitting across from a trusted journalist, away from the palace handlers who usually scripted his every word, William finally let the mask slip. What emerged wasn't just grief, it was fury. "My mother had just died, and I had to walk a long way behind her casket," he began, his voice steady but his eyes betraying years of suppressed emotion. But then came the words that sent shockwaves through the monarchy. "The pain and suffering of women marrying into this institution is greater than any comfort or luxury it provides." This wasn't just about Diana anymore. This was about Kate, about Meghan, about every woman who'd been chewed up and spat out by an institution that valued tradition over humanity. But William went further. He spoke about the relentless harassment his mother faced, not from the press, but from within. He talked about the conspiracy theories that weren't theories at all, but carefully orchestrated whispers designed to discredit Diana's mental state. Most explosively, he confirmed what many had long suspected. The royal family knew about Diana's fears and did nothing. Palace sources describe the aftermath as catastrophic. Emergency meetings were called. PR teams worked through the night. The Queen herself, by then in declining health, was said to be deeply distressed by William's revelations. But for William, the confession was liberation. For the first time in his life, he'd chosen truth over duty. And in doing so, he'd drawn a line in the sand. When he becomes king, things will be different. The institution that failed his mother would not fail his wife. The palace may have tried to bury his words, but they'd already taken root. The future king had spoken, and what he'd said could never be unsaid. Kate under siege. History's cruel repetition. When Catherine Middleton walked down the aisle of Westminster Abbey in 2011, she wore Diana's sapphire ring and a smile that captivated the world. But behind the fairy tale facade, a familiar nightmare was already beginning to unfold. The parallels were impossible to ignore. Like Diana, Kate was a commoner who'd capture a prince's heart. Like Diana, she possessed a natural warmth that made the other royals seem cold by comparison. And like Diana, she quickly discovered that being loved by the public made her a threat to those who'd grown comfortable in their mediocrity. The first signs of trouble came from an unexpected source. Queen Camilla herself. What should have been a relationship of mutual support between 2 women who'd married into the firm became a cold war of calculated slights and subtle sabotage. Camilla, who'd waited decades to be accepted, watched with barely concealed resentment as Kate achieved in months what had taken her years. The incidents began small. Kate's parents, arriving for a royal function, were directed to enter through a servant's entrance, a humiliation orchestrated to remind the new princess of her place. When Kate wore Diana's jewelry, Camilla's displeasure was palpable. When she received the Queen's favor, Camilla's allies whispered about getting above herself. But it was Kate's battle with cancer in 2024 that truly revealed the depths of palace dysfunction. As she underwent chemotherapy, fighting for her life while maintaining her royal duties, the support she should have received was conspicuously absent. Instead, there were leaks about her absence from duties and questions about her commitment to the crown. William watched it all with growing horror. The same forces that had isolated his mother were now circling his wife. The same whispers, the same tactics, the same cruelty dressed up as protocol. His worst fears were being realized. History wasn't just repeating, it was accelerating. And this time, he wouldn't stand by and watch the woman he loved be destroyed by an institution that had already taken too much. The secret meeting that changed everything. In the winter of 2023, as King Charles settled into his new role and Camilla savored her long-awaited elevation to queen, a clandestine gathering took place that would alter the monarchy's future forever. The location was deliberate. Highgrove House, Charles's beloved sanctuary, where privacy was absolute and loyalty unquestioned. Present were William and Kate, Charles and Camilla, and a handful of the most senior palace advisors. The agenda? The future of the crown itself. What transpired in those 3 hours remains largely shrouded in secrecy, but palace insiders who pieced together fragments paint a picture of unprecedented confrontation. William, no longer willing to play the dutiful son, laid out his terms with surgical precision. The days of sacrificing family for institution were over. The toxic culture that had killed his mother would not claim his wife. And when his time came with a crown, the monarchy would be transformed or it would be obsolete. Charles, caught between his son and his wife, tried to play mediator, but William's message was clear. There would be no compromise. Either the institution evolved, or it would face a reckoning when he ascended the throne. Camilla's reaction was reportedly volcanic. The woman who'd waited decades for her position wasn't about to have it diminished by her stepson's ultimatum. She spoke of duty, of tradition, of the importance of maintaining standards, but her words fell on deaf ears. Kate, typically diplomatic, delivered perhaps the evening's most devastating blow. With quiet dignity, she spoke about her cancer diagnosis, about facing mortality while navigating palace politics, about Diana's ghost, the presence that never left. 27 years after her death, Princess Diana's presence haunts every corner of royal life with an intensity that defies explanation. She is the unspoken name in every meeting, the standard against which every royal woman is measured, the ghost that refuses to be exorcised. For William, she is everywhere, in the way Kate tilts her head when listening to someone's troubles, in the laugh of his children, in the quiet moments at Kensington Palace when he passes a sunken garden where her memorial stands, forever frozen in eternal bloom. But Diana's most powerful presence isn't in these gentle reminders. It's in the fear she still inspires in those who wronged her. Camilla, now queen, can never escape Diana's shadow. Every public appearance invites comparison. Every gesture of charity recalls a woman who did it first, did it better, did it with genuine love rather than calculated duty. The crown Camilla wears is forever tarnished by the understanding that it was meant for another. Palace staff speak in hushed tones about the Diana effect, the way her memory influences decisions decades after her passing. When reforms are proposed, the question is always asked, what would Diana have thought? When the monarchy faces criticism, her absence is felt most keenly. She was their bridge to the people, and without her, that connection grows ever more tenuous. Harry claims to feel her presence directly, hearing her laughter, sensing her guidance. But for William, the connection is more complex. She is both comfort and torment. a reminder of what was lost and a promise of what must be protected. Recently declassified documents reveal that even in official palace communications, there's an unwritten rule. Diana's name is to be used sparingly, her image carefully controlled. They fear her still, these guardians of tradition, because they know what William knows, what the public has always known. Diana was more than a princess. She was a reckoning, and that reckoning isn't finished. The monarchy's darkest secret. There are secrets buried so deep within the Windsor vaults that even most royals don't know they exist. But William knows. The burden of being heir means inheriting not just crowns and castles, but the classified files, the hidden reports, the truths deemed too dangerous for public consumption. What he discovered in those files changed him forever. The investigation into Diana's death, Operation Paget, told the public William's promise, the revolution that awaits. As Prince William stands on the precipice of kingship, those closest to him speak of a man transformed by truth, hardened by loss, and determined to honor a promise made at his mother's graveside. The promise was simple in its words, revolutionary in its implications. Things will be different. Different means no more sacrificial lambs, offered to maintain the monarchy's image. Different means transparency where there was secrecy, humanity where there was only protocol. Different means never again will a woman be destroyed for crime of being loved more than the institution itself. William's vision for the monarchy isn't destruction, it's resurrection. He sees an institution that serves rather than survives, that connects rather than controls, that remembers its purpose is to inspire, not intimidate. Already, the changes are beginning. Kate's illness was handled with an openness unthinkable in Diana's time. The children are raised with normality that would have been heresy to previous generations. The palace machinery, so long geared towards suppression and control, is slowly, quietly being redirected towards something resembling actual service. But the real revolution awaits his ascension. Those who know William best speak of plans already drawn, reforms already drafted, waiting for the moment when the power to implement them finally rests in his hands. Camilla knows her days of influence are numbered. Charles knows his legacy will be as a transitional figure between the old ways and the new. The courtiers who enabled Diana's destruction know that their time is ending. The boy who walked behind his mother's coffin has become a man who carries her torch. The silence he held for 27 years has been broken, and what he's revealed is both an indictment and a promise. Diana's death wasn't just a tragedy. It was a turning point. The monarchy can no longer pretend it didn't happen, can no longer hide behind tradition and protocol, while lives are destroyed in service to an outdated ideal. William knows the truth. He's spoken the truth, and when his time comes, he will act on that truth. The question isn't whether the monarchy will survive William's reign. It's whether it will be recognizable when he's done with it. For Diana's son, that's not a threat. It's a promise. A promise to his mother, to his wife, to his children, and to a nation that deserves better than secrets and shadows. The revolution isn't coming. It's already here. It walks with William every day, whispers with Diana's voice, and waits with the patience of inevitable change. What do you believe truly happened that night in Paris? Is William right to challenge centuries of tradition? Share your thoughts below. And subscribe to hear more explosive royal revelations that the palace doesn't want you to know.